And so Jeremiah was searching for something. If you go back and you read, we don't have time. I'm limited by time, in fact. But if you go back and you look at the previous writing, you'll find that Jeremiah was searching for a word. He was looking for a word. He needed something, and he didn't need something that would come from his friends, and he didn't need something that would come from his mama, and he didn't need something that was going to come from his daddy. He needed something that could only come from the master, and he was looking for a word, and the Lord said, son, I know what you're looking for. He said, go down to the potter's house. He said, and there, I'm going to give you a message. And usually when God gives you a message, when you're a servant of God, when you're a tool that God can use, he always gives you a message so that you can digest it first. Because you can't preach nothing that you can't live. You can't preach. You can't preach. If you do, it'll be very shallow. If you do, it'll have very little substance to it. If you do, it won't really get no results because it's not what God has ordained. He said, my word go forth and it shall not come back to me. You see, so God said, I've got something for you first. And once I can bathe you in this word, Jeremiah, then I want you to give it to the house of Israel. And so the question that I ask for you, have you ever desired something that only the Lord could deliver? Hallelujah. Glory to God. And in fact, have you ever desired something that only the Lord could deliver and he did it? I want to give him some glory. And he did it. You know that people can look at you funny. And people can change their mind about you. People can turn on you. But the word said, don't be discouraged. Keep on seeking. Don't be discouraged. Keep on searching. Don't be discouraged. Keep on asking. Don't be discouraged. Keep on knocking. Because while you're looking for the Lord, just know that the Lord is also looking for you. Paul said in Philippians chapter 3, Paul says, I have been apprehended by the very thing that I desire to apprehend. What he was basically saying is that while I was looking for Jesus, I only learned that Jesus had been looking for me. See, that's a true sin. You can't look for God and not come to the realization that God has always been looking for you. He's been waiting in line patiently. He's allowed you to do this. He's allowed you to do that, only because he's saying, now I'm just waiting for my turn. You tried everybody else. You look everywhere, when are you going to look this way? And so the Lord tells Jeremiah, he says, and then I'm going to give you a message. So I went down to the potter's house, and I saw him working at a wheel. But the pot he was shaping from the clay, it was broken. And the potter took this broken piece of clay, or this marred piece of clay, and he put it in his hands. And the funny thing about this, when I was looking at this, what I found out is this, is the potter didn't reshape it to the mold that it was in. If you look at the verse, what it says is that, so the potter formed it into another pot, shaping it as it seemed best to him. And I began to say, you know, Lord, every time I was tried and I was tested and I was run down and I was beat down, you know, and I wanted to be like this, and I kept praying and I kept doing all the things that I thought was within your will. Now I see why you wouldn't let it be the way I wanted to be, because you weren't shaping me for this. You were shaping me for that. And so he told Jeremiah, he said, I tell them that if they can repent and get themselves together, then the thing that I was going to do for them, it was twofold. I can take it back. But if they've been doing the right thing, or living by my word and living according to my will, I can also open the doors or the windows from heaven and begin to pour down some of those blessings that I know they see. You see, what he was saying is that God has the ability to turn your mess into a miracle. God has the ability to turn your tragedy into something terrific. He has the ability to turn your brokenness into perfection. He has the ability to turn my trauma into a treasure. Now, I want to just show you one thing. I want to show you one thing as we getting ready to close. But in the 27th chapter of the Gospel of Matthew, the Bible tells us that it was early in the morning, and all the chief priests and the elders of the people came to the decision to put Jesus to death. And they desired to bind him and lead him away. And they handed him over to Pontius Pilate, who was the governor. And Judas, who had betrayed him, saw that Jesus was condemned. He was seized with remorse and returned the 30 coins of silver to the chief priests and the elders. Why? Because Judas came to the realization within his spirit that I have sinned. Amen. This is the word of God. It says, Judas said, I have sinned, he said, for I have betrayed innocent blood. In other words, Judas looked at them and said, take the money back, for I have sinned because I have betrayed the Lord. Amen. Oh, I wish you could hear me this afternoon. He said, and they looked at Judas and they said, well, what is it to us? Men of God looked at a man who was saying that he had sinned against the Lord. Men of God who should have tried to even turn his soul around that point. But they said, what is it to us? That's your responsibility. And Judas threw the money into the temple and left. Then he went away and hung himself. And the chief priest picked up the coins and said, it is against the law to put this money into the treasury, since it's blood money. It sounds like something I heard it on 14th Street. Be careful, be careful. But he says, now what? He says, it is against the law to put the money in the treasury since it's blood money. So they decided to use the money to buy the potter's field as a burial place for foreigners. You see, it was a place where they could bury people, and also it was a place where they had already thrown broken pots. The broken pots, they were already in the field. But only God would have enough insight and intuition to know where he was going with this. And then he said, then it was spoken by Jeremiah the prophet was fulfilled. They took the 30 pieces of silver, or 30 silver coins, the price set on him by the people of Israel, and they used them to buy the potter's field. The Lord commanded me. And then the Lord said, turn to Matthew 13. And I went to Matthew 13, verse 44, and Jesus gives the parable. He says, for the kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in a field. And when a man found it, he hid it again. And then his joy went and sold all that he had and bought the field. And I began to say, well, Lord, that's you. Yes. That's you. Yes. You knew that there was treasure in the field, but yet man thought that it was just a situation where we could throw things and throw people and throw things away. But he says, but that's where the treasure is. Now the book of Hebrews chapter 12 verse 2 says that the writer says, let us fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter, or the author and finisher of our faith. Why? Who for the joy set before him endured the cross, scorning his shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God, and now he intercedes for you and I.